Welcome to Super Dealmaker. Today we'll be talking about access to market. So basically we'll be explaining how our Super Dealmaker app assists you to access the market. Access to market, it can be split into two, which is access to your business support market, where maybe you need assistance in terms of training and other enterprise development opportunities. And then the other access to market, it will be accessing your customers. When accessing your customers, sometimes small businesses need assistance in terms of to access those customers. So we have developed this super app that first, it helps you to develop the business plan. And once you have developed the business plan, then the app helps you to prepare your business to access the market, because that's the first stage. After developing business plan, you need to have access to market if you don't already have market secured. Like most SMMEs, they don't have market secured, or they might have secured a limited market which will not sustain them for a long period, or for it wouldn't be sustain them for years. So you've seen the opportunity, then you're entering the market, but as an SMME, sometimes you want to secure a consistent market. Our app assists SMMEs to access the market, and secondly, it also assists SMMEs to access funding. It helps you to set up, to do your due diligence, make sure that your affairs and the documentation and the supporting evidence are there for due diligence, which is performed by financing institutions when they fund businesses. And lastly, we have the post-investment support, where you can download the policies and procedures for free. If you've already used our app to develop a business plan, you have access to download policies and procedures, which are very important because most SMMEs, they don't have policies and procedures in place. So what we did with Super Dealmaker, we developed a live app that will allow entrepreneurs to develop their systems and procedures, so that they have policies in place in terms of developing their business going forward, and as well as generating your management accounts and your financial records. We have automated the process where SMMEs will just upload the Excel spreadsheet, and then the app will generate the financial reports for you. And then if you want to appoint an advisory board, we also have a panel of experts on the app. You just go into the app and then you register and you select who you want on your board, and then you appoint them. Should they confirm, then they confirm. Then you'll have the advisory board that you can use as a sounding board as an entrepreneur. That's the app Super Dealmaker. First, it helps you to do the business plan in minutes. Second, it helps you to prepare your business to access the market. Third, it helps your business to apply or access funding. And then fourth, it helps entrepreneurs to grow their business by making sure that you have systems and procedures in place. You can generate your post-investment reports and your financial. The Super Dealmaker app is divided into three product or service categories. The first one is the business plan, which is for free. Any entrepreneur can access it and can develop their business plan and use that business plan to apply for funding. And then the second portion is where an entrepreneur needs to appoint a facilitator. We call them facilitator, or a business advisor, or a corporate advisor, whichever term you want to use. You appoint a corporate advisor on the app, and then you make an offer in terms of how much you can afford to pay that corporate advisor. Once you advertise that you're looking for a facilitator or a corporate advisor, business advisor, then you make an offer from 0 to 1,800 for now. Then you make that offer. Then the panel of experts that we have registered on the app, they will apply. If they're interested in servicing you, then they will accept your offer. Then from the accepted offer, you can select whichever advisor that you feel comfortable with. Once you appoint that advisor, the advisor will help you to prepare your business to make sure that it's ready to access the market. There are a few templates that needs to be completed online, making sure that they guide you through the process so that your business is ready to access the market. Once that is done, then you reach a certain percentage, then you need to appoint an assessor. So the assessor is, as well as the panel of experts that we have on the app, they will help you now if you need funding. But if you just needed access to market and the basic business support, then your process ends there, where you will have a professional who would have helped you to make sure that your business has got basic things in place, like your CIPC, your tax, your CSD, they're in place, the shareholders agreements are in place. And those are just the basic things in terms of analyzing your social or your economic impact of the business, so that if there's any enterprise development institution out there that wants to assist you, then it will find that your business is compliant and it's listed on the Super Dealmaker app. Enterprise development institution will be engaging with those so that they come to the app to see the businesses that they can support in terms of enterprise development. So listing on Super Dealmaker is not only going to help your business to be ready for market, it will also be a platform where enterprise development can search for businesses that they are looking for. So you might be lucky your business can be selected from the listing and then get assisted or get access to market opportunities. Access to market is one of the main reasons, depending on which study or research that you read. Access to market is one of the main contributing factor to failure of SMMEs in the country, or globally for that matter. It's important that since the app helps you to develop the business plan, the next phase that we decided or found to be more important is to help SMMEs to access the market. As I explained earlier, accessing the market it can be different for different businesses. Certain businesses need certain assistance in terms of the market. Sometimes SMMEs, because they are small and they're developing, so they need to access the training and enterprise development market, where they get access to interventions that government or private institutions have put in place to assist SMME. It's one angle that we looked at in terms of access to market, and the app assists entrepreneurs to access those training and enterprise development services. That's the first market that they will access. The second market is access to customers, the market in terms of customers, and then as well as access to market for goods and services. Sometimes you are an SMME, you can't buy in bulk, so you are struggling to access that market of buying in bulk. With Super Dealmaker, the app consolidates different SMMEs in the same sector, and if they have similar challenges, then the app will group them together and develop an intervention based on the challenges that have been identified, or the assessor has assessed and found that the business has got the following weaknesses, and these are the interventions that maybe might be put in place to assist that business. Our access to market platform is basically focusing on those two issues: access to enterprise development and training services, which is one market, to make sure that as an SMME you develop your business to world standard, or to have systems in place, to have necessary skills in place. So we assist you to access that market. The second market, we assist you to access customers and access to inputs, goods and services that you might be using in your business, but because you are operating as a solo entrepreneur, you might not have the leverage or the economies of scale to buy directly from your manufacturers and stuff. So in terms of that, we look at those two Okay, not in isolation, because the app has got a diagnostic tool that will help you to identify the weaknesses. And once the weaknesses in your business or skills, because you look at your business as a whole. First, we look at your compliance in terms of the basic administration side of things. Your company, your licenses, your operations. Are you tax compliant and all that? So the app helps you to identify things that you're supposed to comply with. That's on the administrative side. And on the market side, it looks at the market that you need to target. It looks at the quantities that you need to achieve for you to be sustainable as a business. And then the assessment will look at in terms of, do you have sufficient market to sustain your business? If you don't have sufficient market to sustain your business, then there are interventions that will be recommended, and then we'll group together the SMMEs that have similar challenges, and then develop an intervention for those SMMEs that have similar challenges. Because sometimes if the SMMEs are approaching these challenges individually, most of the time they struggle to get assistance. With this app, after the diagnosis of the challenges that the SMMEs are facing, then the SMMEs will be grouped in terms of each intervention. You can have 100 interventions, and there might be other businesses that have similar interventions. Then we will be grouped together in a one category, where now the app, through the business consultants that have been listed on the app, they seek intervention or they seek support for that specific challenge that has been identified. They go out into the market, they find service providers or institutions that specifically assist with the challenge that has been identified, and then engage with them on your behalf to secure the intervention so that you can cure the challenges that you are facing as a business. That's how our app approaches enterprise development and access to market, because most of the time entrepreneurs are operating in silos. So if you are alone, it's sometimes, yes, it can be easier, but sometimes it's more easier if you're operating alone. But on certain issues, you can engage with peers who have similar issues. And then if there's an external intervention that is required, it's always better to approach it as a group, where you have 10, 20, 30 SMMEs with the same challenge. Then when you go out into the market to say, the market, government, corporates, or whatever the challenges are, we have 10 SMMEs that are looking for a certain intervention, then it might be easier. Or sometimes there are enterprise development institutions out there. They have products and services that they want to provide to SMMEs. But it becomes difficult for them to find the SMMEs to support. By listing on this app, that problem can be cured, because enterprise development institutions, they'll come to the platform and search for businesses that are within their mandate. Then they identify those businesses and they implement the intervention, rather than them trying to advertise in the newspapers or go on a campaign to search for those. So you will be readily available for assistance. So the app will make your business ready for business, basically, so that whenever there are enterprise institutions looking for interventions, then they will find your business is there, is listed, and it's available. And because with this app, you will have a professional who's going to help you to make sure that you are ready. The enterprise development institution, they'll know that when they find your business listed on our app, then it will mean that that business has gone through different assessments, so they can be confident that certain things are in place, certain systems are in place based on your rating. Now, the process for you to be listed on our access to market platform, first you have to do the business plan. It's for free on the platform. You develop your business plan, and then once you've developed a business plan, then obviously on our business plan, you'll have the videos and the training material to guide you through the business plan process in terms of how you develop the business plan, the things that you need to put in place in your business plan. So it's a full guide on how to develop a business plan, but it doesn't only guide you how to develop the business plan. It actually develops the business plan for you. It will be a business plan depending on the details, but that you provide. You don't have to worry about hiring a consultant to do the financials for you. The app will do the financials for you. So your business plan will be a complete business plan with different analysis, your SWOT analysis, your Porter's 5, your PESTEL analysis. Those will be included in the business plan. You don't worry about it. You just have to complete few forms and watch few videos for you to understand certain content, the content of the business plan, so that you develop the business plan on your own. Because most of the time when you hire a consultant to develop a business plan, I've been in this space for some time. You find an entrepreneur has hired a consultant to develop a business plan. But when you interview the entrepreneur about the business plan, they don't know what went into the business plan. It might look nice, fancy. You think this thing could be viable. But when you interact with the entrepreneur, you find that the entrepreneur doesn't even understand what is in the business plan. With this app, we made it very easy. We call it Idiot Simple, how to do the business plan. So it takes you through the process of how to do the business plan. You don't only takes you through the theory of the development of the business, you're actually developing your business plan. By the end of the day, it shouldn't take you more than a day to develop a business plan. By the end of the day, you'll have a business plan that as an entrepreneur, you understand the content of that business plan. And for the topics that you don't understand, that goes into a business plan, there are videos, there are study materials that are there on the app to assist you, to make sure that by the end of the process, you are empowered, you understand the business that you are developing, compared to relying on the consultant to develop the business plan. After 2 years, you need to revise the business plan, but you don't understand what's going on in the business plan. You don't understand the financials that the consultant has developed. But if you develop the business plan on your own, then even 2 years later, you can refresh the business plan because you'll understand the information that you have put in. And it also helps because when you're presenting your business plan to the funders, you need to understand the content of the business plan. Appointing consultant is good because they know how to do the business plan. But you understanding what is in your business plan is very, very, very important. Because if you're sitting in front of the funder and you don't understand the content of your business plan, then your credibility gets questioned to say, do you know what you're talking about? And sometimes you might have a different vision to that of the consultant. Maybe your vision gets lost in translation between you and the consultant. So what ultimately happens is what's on paper is not what is in your mind or what you're planning. It's not your vision. But with Super Dealmaker, because we made it easier for you to develop that business plan on your own, what is in that document, it will be your vision. So we take your vision using the app. The app you just provide information to it, then it will develop the business plan in a format that is required by funders or whoever, the enterprise development institution. It's got all the basic information that is required, but it's not a generic, it will be specific to your business because you are the one who will be feeding it with the information that is required. And if you don't know what information to feed it, we have the training material attached to each topic where you can just watch the videos about the different topics and maybe read if you are more a reader, and which will mean ultimately after you develop the business plan, that will be your business plan. It wouldn't be a consultant's business plan or somebody else. Yes, you can go to NYDA, you see them, or any other enterprise development institution or your provincial government enterprise development institution to help you develop the business plan. They will appoint a consultant for you, and then it will take them, averagely takes them 2 months, 3 months to do the business plan. But with Super Dealmaker, you can do the business plan in less than 2 hours. Depending, still, you need to have the necessary information. If you don't have it or you don't understand certain topics, then you just watch our videos, which are linked to each topic on the app. So we made it very, very easy for entrepreneurs to develop their own business plan. With our access to market platform, once you have developed the business plan, as I explained in the last section to say, that's how you develop the business plan, then you'll be listed on, okay, you need to reach 75% in terms of the rating for your business plan for you to be listed on our access to market platform. Once you reach 75% of business plan development, then you get listed on our access to market platform. Our access to market platform, how it works is, once you've listed, there are key categories that we have identified that are very, very important for an organization to access the market. The first one that you look at is on the administration. So on the administration side, we're looking at the organizational information, the basic things like are you registered, your company is registered for tax, you're registered for this, do you have CSD? So those are the basic organizational compliance that we look at. The second one is on the tax and other regulatory compliance. So the app will ask few questions. It will assess if, one, you're compliant with your QAIDA, your UIF, your skills development, your CSD, those kind of things, or your tax clearance, your tax PIN, and all that. So the app assesses that and gives you the rating in terms of the level of your compliance. The third one, your key personnel, which are your shareholders, your directors. So in terms of them as well, they need to comply with certain things. I know a lot of people, they don't know that you can, as an individual, register on CSD to make sure that you are compliant and you are verified. As an entrepreneur, make sure that you also not only register your company, but even you as a director, register on the CSD to make sure that you have your CSD number and to monitor that you are compliant with tax and all that, and it verifies your bank account and all that. So it is helpful for directors as well to register on the CSD. And the other things that we look at in terms of the key personnel is there must be a shareholders agreement. If you are not alone in the business, if it is the two of you, yes, you can be friends, but business is business. Sometimes you'll have your differences. So it's best for you to have a shareholders agreement between the shareholders. If you are more than two or you are more than one, then it's advisable to have the shareholders agreement. So the app checks those things to make sure that you have the shareholders agreement in place. And as individuals as well, when you're accessing markets or you're accessing business opportunities, they're not only looking at the financial position of the company, they also look at your personal financial position. They'll look at your request sometimes, not all the times, but most of the time. They'll request the directors or the shareholders a 6 months bank statement. These are for SMMEs. Obviously, for large companies, you have a significant balance sheet, so it won't be necessary for them to request such information. But for SMMEs, because sometimes it's difficult to separate the SMME, especially at the early stage of your business, to separate the business from the individual. Because normally when in a business or a funding institution or enterprise development institution is supporting a business, they are mainly backing the entrepreneur. That's why even your personal bank statement, how you conduct your financial affairs, your credit listing, they become important for the business, because the business is small, it doesn't have a reputation or a history to stand on its own. The reliance is placed on the entrepreneurs behind it. Even with the app looks at that to say, do you have 6 months bank statement? And then how do they look like, those bank statements? Do you have your tax clearances? Are you on a credit bureau, or are you clear? Are you married in community of property? If you are married in community of property, there is what is required by law is that your partner must give consent to any commitments that you're making in terms of financially. Because without that consent, your partner might be surprised that you are getting liquidated because you backed this company and then the company failed. And then, so it's a law that your partner, if you are married in community of property, must give consent to if you are raising funding or any commitments that you're making that might impact the household. The app, as we're looking at the administration side of things, we're looking at those issues. Are they in place? Mainly the shareholders agreement, is there in place so that you don't get into the infighting? You look at the profiles and the CVs of the entrepreneurs, do proof of address, your FICA documents, so that those are in place. And then the app will monitor like your FICA documents to make sure that if they expire, then it gives you a 0 rating. You'll see it will be in red, so that you fix it to make sure that you maintain your rating at above 95%, because it needs to be above 95% for the app to consider you very investable in terms of or be given the opportunity to access the market. So that's the first one that the app looks at. It looks at the administration side of things to make sure that administratively the business is operating as a business. And the business must have its own bank account. The 6 months bank statement is required to see the activities in the bank statement. So that's why it's also become important administratively for entrepreneurs to separate their personal bank account with the business bank account. All the transactions of the business must be processed through the business bank account. Don't use your personal bank account for the business. Separate the two, because you are an individual and the business is the juristic person as well. So you are separate, maintain it so that in future, if you might need help of any kind, it might be financial, you might be looking for funding, you might be looking for different support, then they'll want to see the activities that are going on in the business bank account. But as well, you need to manage your own personal bank account, as I said earlier, that because your business is small, it's not strong, it doesn't have history, it doesn't have a good name on its own. Funding institution and enterprise development institution, they're looking at you as a horse. No, the business is the horse, and then you as a jockey, as a rider of this business. They need to be able to rely on you to say you will be able to run this business successfully. So make sure that you maintain your finances and the business finances separately, but make sure you run those finances accordingly. Don't be haphazard about your financial affairs, because that will affect the support that you can get, be financial and all the enterprise development opportunities that are out there. And even on our app, we look at how you're running the affairs of the business, and you run the key personnel. We call them key personnel, the shareholders and directors, how they are running their affairs. That's on the administrative side, where we do the assessment to make sure that when we list you on our app, we know, we are confident that we've done the basic checks. Obviously, people being people, we can't guarantee that if we forward your name to enterprise development or for funding opportunities, you will respect the opportunity given and perform accordingly. That we can't guarantee. But the app, it makes sure that it does the basic search and cleanup to make sure that at least you meet certain level of professionalism, or you run your business professionally to a certain extent, to make sure that when we list you there, the people who come to give you the opportunity, they can have that confidence in you. Because sometimes SMMEs are not assisted because The people who are assisting SME, they lack confidence in SMMEs because you don't have your system in order. You're mixing up your personal finances with that. You don't have shareholders agreement in place. You're not compliant with CIPC. You don't have tax clearances. Those kind of things, they negatively affect the development of your business. So if you're looking to access the market, get those basics in place to make sure that you are compliant with basic things. You have shareholders agreement, as I said earlier, and then as well as the shareholders or the directors, you need to have your income statement, your personal monthly income statement in place to see, because sometimes when people are evaluating your company for opportunities, they want to look at your standard of living to see if you're not going to take the money that they put in the business and go use it for personal use. So they will want to see your personal income statement, your personal balance sheet. In terms of the balance sheet, they are looking at if should anything go wrong with the business, do you have assets to support the business going forward? Or if they want to take security, if they're giving a loan to your business or any type of support, if you do something wrong, will they be able to recover it from you personally? Because, as I said, the support is mainly based on you as an individual. So they want to see your balance sheet. But not all the time that they want to see if you have assets. But they just want to see in terms of, sometimes you have to sign surety. Is this person who's signing the surety, does he have assets to back his surety? Does his surety worth anything? So you must make sure that you prepare your personal balance sheet, your personal income statement. If you don't have that, then the app is got that we have templates there to assist you develop those things, to make sure that administratively your business got basic things in place to run as efficiently as a large organization, because you need to have your administrative functions in place so that when it's time, when the opportunity comes, we're not going to run around, you're not going to run around and start looking for the tax clearances or trying to register for CSG, trying to get reference letters for your business. So the app forces you to be business ready for opportunities. So that's the administrative portion that the app does to make sure that you have things that are required, the basic things. Sometimes, yes, there might be other things that are required by different institutions, but the app looks at the common things that are generally required, and sometimes they take long for you to secure them. So that when the opportunity comes, you're not running around trying to get those things. So the app will rate you on those things, and then so that if there are any gaps, you can work on them even before the opportunity arises. There are certain things that you are working on to make sure that you are fully compliant and you have all the administrative documents that are required for you to be able to receive support from either government or other private institutions or any other opportunities that may come. So you need to be ready for administratively. But the app will help you. You need to log on into the app and then just complete in terms of the data and appoint a facilitator that will help you handhold you to make sure that you fully administratively you are fully compliant with the generic requirements in terms of running a business. And the second one that the platform looks at for access to market is the economic empowerment or social empowerment, because it becomes important in terms of the assistance that a person gets or the business gets. It depends on the contribution that business makes to well-being of the society. So when you're accessing the markets, many institutions are more willing to support the organizations that have a positive social impact. For example, organizations that are owned by youth, organizations that are owned by women, organizations that are based in rural areas. So those are the type of businesses that readily receive enterprise development support. And okay, lastly, probably if the organization has got high B score, businesses want to support businesses with, especially for B score, to support businesses that have level 1 BEE. But we know that most of businesses that are making less than 10 million, as long as you are black owned, you just have to do the affidavit that you are level 1 triple BEE. So you need to make sure that you have your triple BEE certificate. It's not expiring. So because sometimes organizations just leave their BEE certificate to expire. Just make sure that you have the BEE certificate that is valid, because the app requires the date of the expiry date of the BEE certificate, so that the businesses that are willing to support you, they know that you are BEE compliant, which is important. And as well, when you starting a business, sometimes they recommend that at least you must have call it a co-founder, which is, don't build a business on your own. It's better for organization to assist a group of people rather than assisting one person. So if you are starting an organization, you might set up a cooperative, depending on what you want to achieve. Set up a cooperative, which at least you must have a minimum of 5 people, or set up a business where it's more than one person. One, it helps in terms of you have someone to share the challenges with, because building a small business is very, very challenging. So if you have a co-founder, then you have a partner that you can share information with. The Access to Market app, it also looks at the ownership. Are you alone in the business, or do you have co-founder, so that you know where you are in terms of socially developing? Because if you're alone, the impact is less than if it's many of you in an organization. But you don't necessarily have to have co-founders, but there's always they say it's advisable for you to have co-founders, but it's up to you, depending on the nature of the business that you're establishing. If you're going to need enterprise development support, make sure that you hit those social or social economic points, which are, where possible, have a youth in your business, have a woman either as a shareholder or as part of the management, the executive, have people with disability, either employed or as part of the shareholders or as part of the management. Then as well, if it's possible, establish your business in a rural setting, because obviously our rural areas are the poorest. Then when you want to access market or funding or opportunities, they look at those things. They give preference to businesses that are in rural areas. They are owned by youth, women, people with disabilities. So those are the socio-economic issues that when you're looking for support, they are looking at. So make sure that you set up in a way that you will hit the maximum points on the social issues. And this is the second component that our app, Access to Market, it looks at, and it rates you on those issues. So the higher the points that you achieve on these issues, the better chances for you to access the market opportunities or access funding, depending on the need of the business. But your socio-economic benefit, it must be priority. It must be in your strategy. Sometimes, as a small business, yes, you might not be able to implement certain things, but just keep them in mind to say, this is the strategy. Even though we are here, this is where we want to get. So it will go a long way, because what is required, most especially when you want people to support you, most especially when you want people to support you with funding or with access to market, it must show that you care about the environment that you are operating within, and you're socially want to empower the previously disadvantaged. It becomes very, very important. And even our app, in terms of how it rates the socio-economic issues or socio empowerment issues, is very important. It's one of the key components that the app uses to rate your business. So make sure that you include the previously disadvantaged in your business. Under the market, so in your business plan, you'll identify the market that you're targeting and the industry that you'll be operating within. So now, when it comes to the market access analysis, or for when you're analyzing your market, you need to identify the market that you want to secure. It depends. You can maybe you might be targeting big corporates, you might be targeting government tenders, you might be targeting local communities, you might be targeting all of them in one, maybe targeting local communities, businesses, and government. But you need to define which markets you have secured. Let's say if you didn't secure all of them, you need to prioritize which market will be more economical for you to secure one and to be more profitable. Those are the things that you need to be able to identify. So when you're looking at the market, if you are an existing business, you take your revenue, you look at the breakdown of your revenue. Where am I getting most of my revenue from? And which of this revenue is more profitable for me? You do that analysis. Then after you've looked at that, then you look at which market do you want to access and how will you access that market. So we'll go into detail in terms of how you access certain markets, but as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to analyze the market that you want to access and develop a strategy around them to say, how would I access the market that I want to access? So if you want to access the tender market, look at how to access the tender market. Then if you want to access the export market, look at our video and the material on how to access the export market. And if you want to access the individual market, then look at the video on how to access the individual market. So those, or if you want to access corporate market, then look at the video, our video in terms of how to access the corporate market. These markets, in terms of the approaches, are different. So we spoke about the first section of compliance, where administratively you need to make sure that you have things in place. But with if you are targeting individual market, they sometimes don't care much about the compliance, as long as you provide them with quality products and quality services at the price that they can afford. That's all that it matters to them. But on the background, remember you have SARS that you need to comply with. You have CIPC that you need to comply with. You need an operating license or the zoning that you need to comply with. There's a lot of legislations that you still have to comply, even though your customers are not forcing you to comply with certain things, but the law forces you to comply with those things. So you need to understand that the administrative component of this app is very, very important. Even if you are supplying individuals who just want quality product that they can with at an affordable price. But because there are government legislations and all these things that you need to comply with, it becomes very, very important to make sure that you still comply and to have your administration processes in a row. So if once you sort out your administration, then you get into the operating process. Make sure that you are compliant. If you're selling food, there's a food safety that you need to make sure that you deal with. If you're dealing with individuals coming in your business, in your premises, there's a health and safety processes that you need to comply with. So just understand the sector that you're operating from or within, and the market that you're servicing becomes very, very important. But sometimes if you are servicing corporates, because they hardly come to your business, there's no major health and safety issues that you have to deal with, because generally you'll find that you're working maybe from an office, like we're providing training to corporates. From here, there's no one who comes here for training. We go to the corporates to do the training. So the health and safety doesn't become important. So in terms of when you are accessing the market, you must know the requirements of your market. What do you have to comply with? It becomes very important, because you need to be compliant upfront, because you won't be able to access that market if you are not compliant with the required legislation for that market. If you are not be able to compliant with the accreditation, let's say in training, you need to be accredited. You can access the market because you can provide unaccredited training programs. But if you're providing accredited training provider, if you're providing accredited training programs, then it's different. You need to be accredited. And secondly, if you are accredited, even if the customer is looking for an accredited certificate, but because of you are accredited, it gives you a little bit more credibility. So you need to be able to understand the market that you want to access, the things that you need to comply with within that market. Remember, there are legislative things that you need to comply with in terms of health and safety, food safety, if you are providing food, and making sure that the food is the quality and the price that your customers are looking for. Now, that's the individual market. But there are additional things that you need to make sure that you comply with as a business. You still have to pay your SARS. Okay, not pay, but make sure that you're compliant with your tax affairs. Because most of businesses have realized that if you are servicing individuals, the individuals they won't ask you for your tax clearance. Compared to if you are servicing government or corporates. Corporates will ask you for tax clearance and your BA certificates and all that. But individuals, they don't care about that. They're just looking for affordable food, quality, affordable products and services. So even though you are servicing those, even if they don't require that, but make sure that you have them ready, because you need to comply with SARS. If you making certain a turnover above a certain amount, or your employees, or you have certain number of employees, you still have to comply with the laws. You need to, if you employ people, you still have to comply with UIF. Even though you are not driven by your market, which are individual, they won't ask you for that. Which is different. If you're servicing government, they'll ask you for your compliance certificates, for UIF, Department of Labor, a letter of good standing. They'll ask you for CSD compliant. So if you're servicing government and corporate, they force you to comply. But if you're servicing individuals, sometimes the individual, they don't care. But that might come to haunt you later. The SARS might come back to say, you've been operating, you've been making so much profit, but you can see that your tax, you're not paying your tax. Or an employee gets injured in the workplace, and then you don't have QAIDA in place. Then you're going to get sued, because you're supposed to have QAIDA, so that if an employee gets injured at work, you can claim from QAIDA. Or you don't have UIF, you're not paying UIF for your employees, because the market that you're servicing doesn't require. They won't ask you if you are paying UIF for your employees. And then the employee gets fired, you have your differences, and you fire the employee, then he needs to go to UIF to claim for their unemployment insurance funds. Then they're not registered. Then you'll be responsible for you to paying that employee's UIF, the amount that Department of Labor could have paid, because you just didn't pay for it. Access to individual market, it doesn't force you to comply with certain things, but you still have to comply with it. And if you are servicing that market, make sure that you understand the other compliance things, because they're not going to force you. Sometimes opportunities comes for businesses that are operating in servicing the individual market, but because we find that that support or that assistance is coming from government, Don't want you to have the tax clearance. Don't want you to have operating permit. Don't want you to have CSD. Don't want you to have financials. You're going to miss out on the opportunities that come from the market if you don't have your basic operating administration in place. Yes, the market might not want it, like unlike if you are doing tenders, you are forced to do certain things. You are forced to make sure that you have tax clearance. You are forced to make sure that you have a BE certificate and all that. If you are servicing individuals, it doesn't mean you don't have to have those. You must still make sure that you have them. They become handy. They help you to make sure that you are compliant. If anything happens in the place of employment, then you are still secured. And sometimes there are a lot of opportunities out there. There are enterprise development opportunities, training opportunities, grants and funding opportunities. But because you are not compliant, you might not be able to get those opportunities. And you might not access even a bigger market. Because even if you're servicing individuals, there's always an opportunity to expand your business into servicing corporates and government. That's where the growth might be. And without you being compliant with certain things, you might not be able to access that bigger market. That's on the individual market. And when servicing government markets, there are basic things that you need to make sure that you understand. You need to understand the sector that you're operating in. You need to understand the the budget vote that you are targeting. It might be a department, it might be a line item, but you need to know that market that you're targeting. How big is it? Is it sufficient market there? Then once you know which vote are you targeting in terms of the requirement, then you need to look at what is required for you to comply with the services. Do they need a accreditation? Do they need a license for it? Do you need to have certain qualifications for you to provide such service? So you need to know the market that you're targeting. Make sure that you have the necessary compliance or accreditation for you to service that market. It's very important, because sometimes you can see the opportunity, but because you don't have the necessary accreditations, you don't have the necessary certificates, because you might be a catering business, you are catering for individuals, but sometimes the opportunity comes to cater for a big event for government. Do you have your food and safety certificates in place? Do you have health and safety certificates? If you don't have those, then you might miss out on those opportunities. So you must know your market, know the requirements of the market that you're targeting, to make sure that you are fully compliant in terms of the requirement of that industry, specifically that market that you are targeting. And then now, because we are on government market, obviously you need to be registered on CSD to access the government market. You need to have your B. You don't necessarily need to have B certificate, but it's advantageous because one, they look at the technical competency. Then once technically you are competent, then they take into account your BE level. So you might be technically competent, but because you don't have the BE certificate or your BE certificate has expired, you might miss on that market opportunity. So one, make sure that you have your compliance documents in place. You might not have the letter of good standing from the Department of Labor. Then you might find that the tender is issued or the opportunity comes. It might not be a tender, it might be an enterprise development intervention, it might be grants for that matter. But they might require the QUEDA, the letter from the Department of Labor to say you are in good standing. You need to make sure that in place. Make sure that you have permit for where you're operating from, or you have proper zoning certificate for the operation that you are doing. If you are not in a what do you call it, a factory, or you are not in a formally zoned space, then you need to make sure that you get your permission. Either you do it through the municipality. I know that the municipality, when it comes to permissions to operate and the licenses, they take long to approve. Sometimes if you are in a rural area, then you go to your tribal office, then they can give you the letter to prove that they authorize you to run that particular or the type of business that you're running you're running there. That's one of the basic things that you need to make sure in place. I know people are ignorant of the permit to operate, but it's important. You need to have the permit to operate. One is that permit. Two is the license to operate. Some businesses, they need certain licenses. If it's a butcher, you need a license. If it's a what do you call it, a liquor, you need certain licenses for you to operate in a certain area. To sell alcohol, you need certain licenses. And then as well, if you're running a franchise, obviously you need to have a franchise agreement. You can't set up a McDonald's without the franchise agreement. Those are the licenses that you need to make sure that you have in place, you are compliant with. So when you're looking at the government market, you need to make sure legislatively your affairs are in order. Legislatively, like tax, all the levies that you're paying, you have permits to operate from where you're operating from. You are fully compliant. Your CIPC, it's up to date, meaning you are paying your annual returns. Tax clearance it's in order. That's the legislative compliance, because you wouldn't be able to access that market without the legislative compliance. Now, again, you need the operating compliance, operations. On the operation side, it depends on the type of business that you do. If you're running a restaurant, you need the food and safety stuff. If you need the health and safety, you need the food safety and things like that to make sure that you have your industry-specific compliance. And there are certain things like your SABS standards. It depends on the operations that you're running, but make sure that industry-wise you are compliant for you to be able to access that government market. Then, in terms of the technically, you need to make sure that you have a team that will be execute the project. With government, you don't necessarily have to have employed them in your business, but you must have relationship with people in your space so that you can be able to prove immediately that you have the capacity to service that market. So that if they require 10 people, you have relationship, you have their CVs, they understand that you might use their CVs for tendering for certain positions, and then you have an understanding. It might be a formal agreement or it might be informal, but there's an understanding between you and the technical team. Even if they're not in your team, you are paying them salary every month, but you must have them on call. Where you say, if I have a tender or if I have a proposal to submit, can I use your CV to beef up my team? So those are on the technical side. Always make sure that you have a team that is ready, it can execute a project in your space that government might be looking for. That's that now. In terms of making sure that you have a technical team, you have, as I said, they must not necessarily be employed, but have a proper technical team. And the fourth one, make sure that you have reference letters. They must not be too old. Make sure that maybe after 3 years, you renew them. Make sure that you have enough reference letters. Minimum 5 reference letters. Because sometimes they want a reference letter or reference letters for the type of project that they might be offering you. So you must always have the reference letters. So those are I'll say the 5 things that you need to make sure that you comply with. One is legislatively, your tax clearance, your tax return, CSD, letters of good standing, permission to operate, or the licenses that you might need to operate. 2 is the industry specific, the things that your industry requires. Is there accreditation? Is there a license? Is there anything SABS required for your operation? That's now The second one. The third one, do you have the technical team? Sufficient technical team for you to execute bigger projects than the ones that you are at the level that you're operating. You must have a technical team. 4, you must have the reference letters. At least 5 reference letters. They'll give you good points. I don't know if I haven't seen much where they are requesting more than 5 reference letters. So reference, but they must not be older than 3 years. Okay, sometimes they say 5 years, but make sure that you maintain reference letters that are not older than 3 years. And lastly, obviously, you need to have a place where you're operating from and have the necessary infrastructure, equipment, and all that, so that if they happen to come for physical inspection, they will be able to have a place where they can inspect what you have. So those are the 5 things that, if you want to access the government markets, those are the 5 things that you need to make sure that you have in place. There might be additional things. I mean, the different projects require different things. So if you have these 5 things, at least you have a shot. Then there might be other things that maybe you might outsource, but these are basics. This might lead to you not securing the markets that you're looking for. So when you're completing your market access to market analysis, make sure you are honest about it. You put it there so that it can be highlighted in the app, so that if there's any intervention that can be secured, there might be other businesses that are struggling with similar challenges. So the app, what will do is consolidate them, see what are the main challenges, and then maybe group entrepreneurs together for that particular intervention, or proactively approach different institutions to help you with the challenges that you are facing. Because remember, you might have certain challenges, they might not be your challenges alone, but because you don't know any other entrepreneurs, or you're not connected to any other entrepreneurs, you might not know who else has got the similar challenges. But by using the Super Dealmaker app, at least we'll be able to consolidate to see the different challenges, and as an app to proactively seek interventions for those gaps that have been identified, which will make your business struggle to access the market. And then, as I said, now this is mainly focused on the government market. You need to make sure that you have those 5 blocks that we spoke about. You are always updating them. They are recent. You make sure that they're always readily available for any opportunities that might come. Then, if you have those, then you also get a very good rating in terms of on the app to say you have this. If the opportunity comes, you'll be on top of the list for those interventions that might be out there, where the market are looking for SMMEs in your space. So make sure that you have those in order. One, I said, make sure that you legal compliance, your tax clearance and all that. The second one is industry compliance. Make sure that you know what is required, expected from your industry. Then make sure that you comply with those. 3, make sure that you have the technical team, even if they're not employed, but make sure that you have access to relevant people or relevant skills that you might need as a business. 4, make sure that you have your reference letters in place. At least you have 5 reference letters. And 5, make sure that you have the operations or the physical structure where you will be providing the services from, where if there's an opportunity, whoever is giving you the opportunity can come and do the inspection. Those are the 5 things that you need to make sure when you're servicing government or the corporate market. Those are the things that you need to make sure that you have in place. Okay, now when you're targeting the corporate market, or you want to access the corporate market, the most important thing is you must also refer to the video on the government when you're accessing the government market, in terms of, 1, you need the compliance, legal compliance documents, which are your SARS, your CSD, your letter of good standing, and you make sure that they are still relevant. So you need to make sure that you have permission to where you're operating from, or there's proper zoning in terms of complying with the law. So that's the first thing. Even the corporate market are looking at the same thing to say, are you in compliance with the law in terms of administratively? Is your operation in compliance with the law? The second one is your operation, is it in compliance with the industry that you are operating from? It's similar to government. If the product that you are producing or supplying, do they need SABS? Or if it's the services, do you need to be accredited by a certain institution? So if there's accreditations that's required, or SABS, or certain standards, or food safety, or whatever the standards that the industry require, make sure you have those in place, and you continuously monitor those to make sure that if they're expiring, then have a system in terms of to identify those accreditations or standards or whatever the licenses when they expire, so that you can be able to renew them on time. That's the second one. The third one is to have the technical know-how, the technical capacity. Do you have a team that can execute the job? So similar to government, you need to make sure that you build relationships with people in your space, that if you are bidding for bigger project, you can use their CV or use their profiles for you to bid. And if you don't have necessarily the team, sometimes you can enter into what do you call it, joint venture agreements, where you are bidding as two companies. Let's say it's 2 or 3 SMMEs. One, maybe the project require an accredited training, it needs the SABS, and it needs a mining license. So one might have one accreditation, the other one has a license, the other one has a SABS standards, whatever. I'm just giving example. Then you bid together as a joint venture. You enter into a joint venture. Then when you're bidding for that corporate project, if it's big enough, then you bid it as one company, not one company, as a joint venture. Joint venture is those 3 companies coming together, signing an agreement, bidding as one. Even though there are 3 separate companies, but you are bidding as one company. So, but still, individually, those businesses still need to be compliant with the legislative part, have their tax clearances, have their B certificate, have their CSD compliant, have their zoning or whatever the certificate where they're operating from is approved and all that. So if you don't have one, build those relationships so that you have necessary technical skills to deliver on bigger projects than the one that you are currently delivering on. Build those relationships in the sector that you operate in. Network, have friends that you work with on specific projects. That's the third one. And the fourth one is same as government, have the reference letters. They very, very important, so that people can, or the institutions or the companies that you are dealing with, you'll be able to show them the reference letters, because they will be comfortable to see that other companies are happy with your service. It gives them confidence for them to appoint you. So you need to make sure that you have reference letters for the projects or similar, but they must be relevant reference letters. You can't be supplying laptops and then you have reference letter to supply lighting. It's a totally different things. Yes, sometimes they might, if you don't have for supplying laptops, you might use the one for lighting just to show that you are providing a good service, but they might be found to be irrelevant. So they might not carry weight in the assessment, depending on what they're looking for when they're looking for a reference set. Are they looking for your professionalism, or are they looking for your technical know-how in terms of can you deliver the laptop? So it depends. Sometimes the reference letters, they are looked at differently. The purpose of the evaluating committee from the corporate it might be looking for different things. Maybe they just want to see if you are professional in terms of how you deliver your services. But those reference letters must be at least closer to the services that institution is looking for. And then the last one, it will be, okay, not the last one. In terms of corporate, there's one more that maybe it becomes important. Then you must have your operating place, where you're operating from. It must be compliant. It must have physically, it must have the equipment or the people or the computers, whatever, depending on what you supply. That when they come physical inspection, they can see that you have the operation that can deliver on what you are claiming you can deliver. And with the corporate, is different. Okay, it's not necessarily different, but sometimes even with government, sometimes they issue a tender for people to be on their database. So there are certain services that you can be on the government database, but corporates generally, they use the database model where you need to make sure that you apply to all the institutions that you want to service. You check how do you appoint to service providers? Generally, they use the database. You apply, you request them. If it's closed, whatever, at the time, you need to make sure that you get the dates on when the window will open again. Put it, diarize it to make sure that when the opportunity comes, you apply and be on that database. Because sometimes when you miss the window, you might be able to supply the product and services, but they might want you to be on a database for them to give you the opportunity or the jobs that might be available, or to give you access to the market there. So make sure that you identify institutions that you are targeting as an entrepreneur. You look at their procurement processes to see if you should be on their database for them to provide you with services. And normally the database are long, at 3 years. If you miss that, then you might find other businesses that are already on their database. Then you develop a joint venture if there's an opportunity. So, but this you need to do it upfront to know their procurement process. You need to know if you should be on their database. And if you are not in the database, maybe you missed the deadline, find companies that are already on their database and then build that relationship with those institutions to make sure that if an opportunity comes, then you might be able to develop a joint venture that you can bid for the project that they have advertised. So that's how you access the corporate market. You need to make sure that you are on their database. You need to make sure that you have your reference letters handy. You need to make sure that you have an operating place where they can come verify that your business exists. Make sure that legislatively you are in compliant with the of that sector. There are certain sectors that are sensitive to legislation. Make sure that if you are running a medical rooms, whatever, you are a medical person, you are accredited accordingly. If it's first aid, you are accredited with first aid, you can provide that. Make sure that you have the right team to execute the project, and make sure that you are in compliance with the legislations, like your CIPC is up to date, your tax and all that are up to date. So that's the how you service or you access the corporate market, which is more or less similar to how you access the government market. But sometimes government market, most of it is just pure tendering system, while the corporate market, you need to be on their database for them to give you an opportunity or an access to that market. Which now, those two are totally different from individual market. Individual market is the most important part is product and services. Providing the product and services at the quality that the end consumer is looking for and at the price that they can afford. That's the main thing. Even though that's the main thing, but it doesn't necessarily, it shouldn't stop you from making sure that you are still compliant. You still have comply with the requirement of your industry. You still make sure that you have a network of technical people. Make sure that you have sufficient equipment and all that, and you make sure that you have the reference letters, because you might be servicing this market, but there might be opportunities that are coming from government or from corporate. So you need to understand the requirement to access the corporate market and the requirement to access the government market and the requirement to access the individual market. But the individual market is the easier market to access because of there's a limited regulatory requirement from individuals in terms of buying product and services. Sometimes they don't care less about if you are compliant or not, as long as they're getting the product and service that they are looking for. The last market that we are looking at now is the export market. So to access the export market is a little bit tricky, especially if you are SMME, because the compliance in terms of the standards is a little bit higher than the normal local corporate or local government will look at. So let's say, for example, if generally the markets that or the SMMEs that supply the international market or the export mainly are in the agricultural space, because South Africa is big in agriculture because of the weather and all that. So the main market that is exporting is agricultural related. Yes, there might be other markets, but we're weaker in terms of developing other things. So the big one is, which gives us the advantage, is the agricultural market, and then because it's natural, because we have the advantage of the air, the sun, the weather and all that, and the other one is on the mining side. Is the mining. So those are the two most active export businesses that anyone or any entrepreneur or a businesses that, as a South African, if you're looking at the export market, those are the two sectors that you're likely to export than any other sector. Yes, there might be other sectors. I'm not saying they are not, but the main ones that you likely to export are your agriculture and your mining. But in terms of the mining, there's certain export quality. It's also, but even for both of them, agriculture and all that. So in terms of the quality of the product that you can export, they must be at a certain level, and their threshold is a little bit higher, as I said, than the local consumption. So if you are targeting the export market, one, you must make sure that your product quality, if it's agriculture, you can only export A grade. If it's a mining minerals, you must make sure that it's the A grade. Okay, but depending on the mineral side, some minerals are scarce. They might be willing to take the second grades and all that, but the one top quality that you are exporting. And then for agriculture as well is top quality. And there are certain things that you need to make sure that you comply with. Let's say for agriculture, even for local market, let's say if you're supplying the more high-end market, like retailers, your big retailers, they'll want to see that you're compliant with your HACCP in terms of the compliance, your small cap, your health and safety, and such compliance, because the market is sensitive, because we are in food. So the food market is very, very sensitive, to make sure that the process that you followed in terms of producing that output, you followed certain processes, you complied with certain standards, like your cap, your small cap, and your HACCP, your food safety, health and safety, to make sure that the product that you're exporting, it followed a stringent, compliant process. And you need to make sure that the product that you are exporting, you are testing them, you are keeping the samples and all that, because the export market is very sensitive. But not only the export market, but when it comes to food, even the local market it's very, very sensitive. You need to make sure that there are certain things that you follow to comply with. But it's just that the export market are on a higher threshold in terms of the compliance. You need to comply with those rigorously. So you need to have a system in place to ensure that you comply if you are focusing on exporting, accessing the export market. So the export market is mainly for businesses that have processes in place. You can trace from the beginning to the end using the HACCP in terms of making sure that you have the processes that can guarantee that the product that you produce is safe to consume, if it's not a consumer, but it's the quality that is required. If it's not for consumption, but it is for maybe other agricultural products that are not for direct consumption or for human consumption, then you need to make sure that you follow the certain processes. So if you are accessing that market, if you are looking to go into that market, then those are the things that you need to make sure that you put in place. You need to make sure the processes are stringent, the processes are followed, they are properly documented. We have systems in place for you to produce whatever that you're producing and supplying. And the chain process, you need to make sure that if there's a certain temperature that needs to be followed from harvest to the pack house, from pack house into the truck to the airport, whatever the method that from you'll be delivering, it needs to follow a certain process and properly documented. So administratively, if you are exporting, the compliance threshold are just high, yeah, but you need to comply with it. But okay, the price is good. I mean, you'll probably get 4 times the price that you'll get in the local market. Should your business be compliant, the market is very lucrative. And then obviously now the demand, it's another question. And then as well, you need to build the relationship with, remember you can produce, but you still have to build a relationship with the marketing company. Sometimes you get marketing companies, and in agriculture, even the big farmers, they have an operation, but they'll have their marketing company that will market their product overseas or wherever that you're selling the product to. So they have relationships that they have built. So you need to build a relationship with the agencies that sells outside the country. You build that relationship, they buy from you, and they make sure that they deal with the compliance, the other side, the clearing, the delivery, the other side, the storage. So you have responsibility to a certain level in terms of the processes. As I said, they are stringent, and they conduct their audit regularly to make sure that you are continuously in compliance, because once the product fails to meet the audit process, then they won't take that product. So they must be sure that the product that you're producing is of the quality that is safe to consume and it meets the standards that they've been set. So the export market is a little bit finicky in terms of accessing that market, because you need to make sure that your processes are beyond approach in terms of the produce that you supply in that market. And to access that market, you need to build the relationship with the export guys, and then the agencies, the marketing agencies, or whatever they're in your sector. So you need to know who are the players in that market. What type of product do they need? What type of processes? So if you are targeting that, you do that spade work up front. Meet with the marketing companies or the export companies that you are operating within your sector. Look at their requirement in terms of what is required for you to produce certain things. Make sure that you understand the process that you need to follow and the processes that you need to put in place. So instead of you producing with the intention to export without you understanding the product that they need. So to access that market is very, very important for you to start with their requirements and going backwards, so that when you set up your operations, you set it up in a way that it will enable you to access that market. Because sometimes you will produce, maybe, I don't know, buy expensive seeds or whatever that you'll be using to only find that you're missing certain steps in the process and your product gets rejected when it's supposed to be exported. Then you'll in turn have to sell it locally at a cheaper price. So export it's a lucrative market, but in terms of the processes, it's a little bit stringent in the process that you need to follow. The traceability of your product is very, very important. You should be able to trace it from the origin to the final product. So just be careful if you're going for the export market. Make sure that your systems are up to scratch. Everything is documented. They are properly documented, and you follow stringent processes in your operations to make sure that you don't lose that traceability. And then not only at your factory gate, make sure that from your factory gate to the harbor or to the airport, whichever method that you're using to export, the products they maintain that chain, or in terms of the requirement, the temperature chain, or whatever that the product that you're producing. There's certain way that they need to be stored, the certain way that they need to be transported. Then you just have to make sure that you comply with those. That is key. Even in the mining process, traceability becomes very, very important. The quality, obviously, you need to make sure that the qualities are in place, the quality controls and all that. The product that you're producing, ultimately, you can confirm, and then it's been tested. You can prove that this is the grade of the material that I'm selling you. Because that becomes very, very, very important in terms of traceability. You don't want you producing the product intended for the export market to only learn that your product will be rejected at the end, and then you end up selling it to the local market. That's how you access that market. Make sure that your processes and product and processes and services are beyond approach in terms of the quality, the compliance with the processes, and make sure that you build the relationship with the exporting companies or the marketing companies. That's the key in terms of you supplying the export market, because it will be difficult for you as an SMME to send products to overseas, because you wouldn't be able to, you have enough agents to follow through to make sure that the process is compliant. And if there are challenges the other side, you might not be able to resolve them. So because remember, there's the controls that you need to make sure, procedures that needs to be followed. So rather than you stressing yourself with the processes from your factory gate to the consumer, which is international, then it's rather build the relationship with the marketing companies or the exporting companies, so that once you sell it to them, then it becomes their problem to deal with. If there are any challenges that arises from that process, they'll be able to resolve the issues. But it's unlikely you can go direct from a small company, if you're a small company, to export to overseas and deliver to your customers the other side. But that will be daunting, but it might be worth it depending on the value of the product that you are selling. But it's I don't know, it's an unlikely strategy it's unlikely to work, that type of approach, because you are small, you don't have resources, you don't have the capacity. But if you build that capacity, yes, going direct, because the marketing company obviously will knock you in between, because there are transfer pricing. You might find that you're selling it to them at a certain price, but when it gets into the international market, they're selling it at a different price. You might get knocked in between if you are not doing the full Monty. But to do the full process needs a lot of expertise, and then you need to build your business in that way. If you want to do it, build the necessary skills, but you need to invest a lot of resources in it. But it's doable. It's something that it can be done. But if you're small, because this platform is mainly for the small businesses, find the necessary agents that you can use, you can build a relationship with, and supply them. But the most important thing is to make sure that your operating processes are clear. You follow the process, there are process and procedures, and they are properly documented if you want to access the export market. Thank you.